All right, here now is Jesse Morris. He's the CEO of Energy Web, a nonprofit building open source solutions to accelerate decarbonization in the energy sector. Leah Wald, as you can see there, CEO of Valkyrie, is still joining us. Jesse, thanks for joining the conversation. So Energy Web co-founded the Crypto Climate Accord in April of 2021. Talk to us about the goal of the accord and sort of the progress that you've seen, especially considering this hearing that we were just talking about yesterday.
Thank you for having me here. So as you said, Energy Web Foundation, my organization, is actually focused on using blockchain and other technologies to actually help decarbonize the global economy. But because we use blockchain, we actually sit at this really interesting overlap between the world of sustainability and the crypto industry. So we're trying to do our part to actually decarbonize the entire cryptocurrency industry, which is what the Crypto Climate Accord is all about. The Crypto Climate Accord is a private sector-led initiative modeled after the Paris Climate Agreement, and our focus is to decarbonize the entire cryptocurrency industry in record time. What we've done so far is pulled together just over 200 crypto and renewable energy market participants, so some of the world's biggest Bitcoin miners, some very large organizations involved in non-Bitcoin blockchain ecosystems, and renewable energy companies. And what we're doing with those organizations under the Crypto Climate Accord is two different things. The first, just like the Paris International Climate Agreements, we're trying to help these individual companies make climate commitments to basically committing to decarbonizing their entire operations. The second thing we're doing is actually using the Energy Web open source technology stack and the Energy Web chain to help many of these organizations actually decarbonize. What does that mean? I mean, the big problem with a lot of the comments on the Hill yesterday and some things being touted still by the crypto industry is all the data that we see about Bitcoin energy consumption, how much of it's renewable. Unfortunately, it's all survey based. We don't actually know how much electricity is being thrown at the network or how renewable it is. So that's one of the things we're solving under the Crypto Climate Accord. We use the Energy Web chain and other technologies to actually solve blockchain's energy consumption problem by helping companies like Bitcoin miners report from the bottom up how much electricity they're using, how much of that electricity is renewable, and the event that it's not renewable, we help them work with other renewable energy companies to go and buy it in a verified way that's not just survey-based.
Jesse, I'm wondering, one of those claims that you were talking about yesterday was that the energy required to validate one Ethereum transaction could power a U.S. home for more than a week. And the energy required for Bitcoin transaction could power a home for more than 70 days. That was one of the claims that was made yesterday from one of the lawmakers. So I'm wondering, from your perspective here, what are the concerns that are the most valid among lawmakers that you can see real change being created in this industry?
Lawmakers, I must say, we're asking great questions, and to see that nuanced recognition that there's two ways to make blockchains go carbon zero, make them more efficient or have them buy renewables. And what you were just describing is the energy efficiency component of it. I would say that the most exciting thing that I'm seeing is that the entire cryptocurrency industry, whether we're talking about proof of stake, proof of work, everybody, I think, in my world anyway, recognizes that the market has spoken, meaning if the cryptocurrency industry does not get its act together to go 100% renewable as quickly as possible, they're going to have a problem in that more people and more institutions in particular aren't going to come in and buy crypto. So in my experience, all of these different companies are taking this extremely seriously. They are moving to renewables as quickly as possible, as mentioned by a number of the folks on the Hill yesterday. If we want to talk about the energy efficiency component for just a moment, indeed, that is a challenge, and there's not an easy answer there. Proof of work uses a lot of computational power. Proof of stake, far more efficient. Proof of stake is not perfect, is the problem. And so a lot of the time when you hear many of these individuals and senators and even congressional staff who I've spoken with on this topic, they make the assumption that you could just swap out proof of work for proof of stake. That's not a perfect solution. Proof of stake really accumulates power basically in the places where people have a lot of money, a lot of value. So it's also not a perfect governance mechanism.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing when we're thinking about the different blockchains here. Leah, you know, this idea that investors have voted with their feet. I'm wondering if you see that as being true, or what evidence you have that investors will not engage with cryptocurrencies unless they're cleaner.
Yeah, good question. And, you know, Valkyrie is keenly aware of the need for energy generation to shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And companies like Jesse's, you know, huge kudos, are definitely proof the industry is working to be more green and are perfectly aligned with our mission. You know, being an asset manager, we, one, as our own ethos, we do believe in this, but two, to your point, we are being asked by investors in the industry that are interested in crypto to ensure that we're looking into these issues, and everyone has been very largely impressed. I mean, while larger mining companies and pools have established ESG or mainly environmental strategies already, also a lot of the smaller mining firms want to lead in green or more sustainable mining processes too. And this is evident in the publicly traded companies as well. So kudos, Jesse, and yes, we are seeing that.
Jesse, I'd love for you to respond to that.
I couldn't agree more. I offer my evidence in response to the same question. In direct conversations with both philanthropists who are actively contributing funds to solve the energy transition, but at the same time make a lot of their value and make a lot of their wealth that they give to philanthropy by investing in companies, they're not going to touch cryptocurrency unless it's 100% renewable. And it's not just philanthropists, institutional investors that I have conversations and in fact work with day to day will not touch crypto unless it is 100% renewable. So I see this trend only accelerating, and we can already see it happening in equities and other investments, divestment from different pension funds, et cetera, from things that are carbon intense. The same thing's happening with crypto. And again, in my world, the Bitcoin community in particular is evolving. If you look at the roots of Bitcoin, and again, Bitcoin's worth talking about because it is the single biggest source of carbon in the cryptocurrency industry. These miners, some of the world's largest miners that we work with on a daily basis, they're committed. They want to actually solve this problem from the bottom up and show that they are using renewable electricity in different places around the world. And they want to be rewarded by that, by having more institutional investors come in and buy Bitcoin.
And Jesse, how do you show that to the public as well? I mean, you mentioned that a lot of this is based on surveys at this point in time, but Leah was talking about how a lot of public perception is not really getting a lot of this information that both of you were talking about. So how are you going to verify this to the rest of the world and get everybody on board with what you're saying?
Ironically, by using blockchain. So one of the most powerful things around blockchain technology is that it can actually enable organizations or businesses like Bitcoin miners to share very detailed, verified information on a totally anonymized basis about certain things. In this case, we're helping them use blockchain to share information about how much electricity they're throwing into the Bitcoin network and whether or not that electricity is renewable. We can do all of that using both blockchain and existing software to help these companies actually report in a transparent way from the bottom up how much renewables they're using. So our hope is to do this year with a number of different companies, not just in Bitcoin, by the way, but other blockchain networks, to prove to the public that there is actual renewable electricity powering these blockchain networks.
Leah, I'm wondering here, do you think that the companies that are more efficient right now, do you see them actually getting more capital, or do you think this is a longer term issue at stake?
Both, immediately so and longer term. I mean, many companies have sourced their energy from hydro and other renewable clean sources, solar and wind, as mentioned, and these companies are committed to being climate positive by 2030. If we look longer term, while supporting adoption and verification by blockchains powered by 100% renewable sources, like Jesse mentioned, by 2025. And some of these companies that we really like have already become initial signatories of the Crypto Climate Accord, which is an advocacy group that pushes for lower carbon emissions in the crypto mining industry, and also a member of the UNFCCC Climate Neutral Now initiative. I mean, there's a lot of public initiatives that publicly traded companies and private smaller miners are agreeing to, that they're committed to. So I think that it's now and moving towards the future.
All right, we have to leave it there, but really appreciate both of you for this discussion. Please come back. Jesse Morris, Energy Web CEO, and also Leah Wald, Valkyrie CEO. Thank you so much for your time. Shonali, they were making really great points, and a lot of the concern is that people don't know some of these specific details that they were both getting into.
Yeah, but with that said, Bitcoin still does emit a lot of carbon and use a lot of energy. So at what point does the industry meaningfully change as mining and consumption increases so meaningfully too?
Right, actually taking some of those actions. All right, that'll do it for Quick Take this hour, but there's more Quick Take coming up in just a minute. I'm Jennifer Zabasaja.
And I'm Shonali Bassick. You can check out the latest stories at Bloomberg.com or at QuickTake on social media. Thanks for watching.